Hello and welcome to Tattoos of the Unidentified. It's Season 1, Episode 5. On this week's episode, a man checks into a motel room. Twice he turns the maid away, telling her he wants to stay longer and doesn't need the room cleaned. The third time the maid tries to clean the room, she makes a shocking discovery. Lyle Stevik, a well-groomed man boarded a bus either from Aberdeen or Port Angeles in Washington on Friday, September 15th, 2001. He got off the bus at Amanda Park and made his way over to a small hotel. The woman at the front desk thinks that he might have had a backpack with him, although none was found either with him, in the motel dumpster, or in the surrounding area. She also thought he might have had a slight Canadian accent. The man wasn't even required to show ID to book the room. She just asked him to sign his name and address onto the back of the payment envelope. The man wrote the name of Lyle Stevik. It ended up being a name found in a book by Joyce Carol Oates. The book is about a man who contemplates suicide but then decides not to do it. He paid $43.87 for one night and was given the key for room number 8, which was at the end of the motel. He took a shower, and then the noise from the mobile home park next door got to be too much for him. He went back to the manager's office and complained, so they moved him to number 5, which was located more near the middle and away from the noise. The next day, Saturday, September 15th, the maid knocked on the door. Lyle answered it. He said he was going to stay longer and didn't need the room cleaned, but that he did need some clean towels. Later, Lyle was seen by the hotel manager pacing up and down the highway near the hotel. She thought that maybe he was getting some exercise, so she didn't think too much about it. When he got back to his room, he took the bedspread off the bed and draped it over the window. There's speculation that he could have used the bedspread to prevent people from noticing the room light was on, but it could have been also used to block out all light so that he could sleep. On Sunday, September 16th, he went out and bought a newspaper, the Sunday edition of the Daily World. The maid came again to clean his room, and he sent her away. No one knows for sure how long he was alive after he sent the maid away, but it's believed he either hung himself that evening or early in the morning of the next day. The motel room wasn't very big, and in one corner there was an alcove. In the alcove there was a closet for hanging clothes. The clothes rack was fairly low. This is where Lyle decided to end his life. He wedged some pillows between the rack and the wall so that in case he thrashed around while dying, he wouldn't disturb anyone in the next room. He then took off his belt and placed it around the bar of the rack. He took a washcloth and put it on the inside of the belt to make it more comfortable when he put the belt around his throat. He then put his head inside the belt loop with the belt buckle at the front of his throat. Then he knelt down until his knees were almost touching the ground. On Monday, the 17th of September, the maid again goes to his door. She knocks and receives no answer. She goes into the room and sees Lyle in a kneeling position with his back to her. She thinks that he's praying, and since he doesn't speak to her, she leaves the room. She later mentions to her manager what she saw. He goes over to the room and opens the door. Inside, he finds Lyle's body. His body was in a kneeling position. His arms were at his side. His head was tilted back from the belt strap that was under his chin, so that his sightless eyes stared at the ceiling above him. In the room, they found a toothbrush and toothpaste, crisp $20 bills on the dresser with a note that said "for the room," and some change in a drawer. They also found a piece of paper with the word "suicide" on it in the wastepaper basket. Lyle's body was taken to the local coroner's office. When his body was examined, it was found that he had no drugs or alcohol in his system. He also didn't have any fatal diseases. He'd had some dental work in his life, and there were signs he'd had braces. His teeth were well cared for and in almost perfect condition. He'd had his appendix removed sometime in the past. His age was estimated to be between 20 to 30 years of age, which would have placed his birth sometime between 1971 to 1981. He could have been as old as 35, which would have made the year of his death as far back as 1965. His fingers showed no sign that he'd ever worn a wedding ring. When the belt that he had used to hang himself was examined, they discovered every belt hole had been used, and he'd probably had the belt for a long time. It's estimated that he'd recently lost between 30 to 40 pounds, and he was very thin. He was the only suicide that the investigating officer had where the person left money to make sure that their hotel bill was paid. Lyle Stevik is buried in an unmarked grave in Fernhill Cemetery in Aberdeen. Lyle Stevik was 20 to 30 and possibly even up to 35 years old at the time of his death. He might have been either Hispanic, white, or partially Native American. He was 6 foot 2 inches tall and 140 pounds. He had black hair and hazel eyes. His eyebrows met in a unibrow. His hair was neatly trimmed and combed straight back at the time of his death. He had a small mole on the left side of his chin. His earlobes were attached. He had an old appendectomy scar. He had recently lost a lot of weight. When he was found, he was wearing a blue shirt and a plaid design, gray Fruit of the Loom t-shirt underneath that, Levi 550 blue jeans, size 36-34, and black Timberland boots, size 10 medium. Black leather Western-style belt with markings that said genuine leather made in USA, along with 7301 and L31. All his clothes and his boots were very clean and not damaged or worn. If you have any information on Lyle's real identity or about the circumstances surrounding his death, please contact Gray Harbor Sheriff's Department, Steve Schumett, at 360-249-6070, extension 568. The agency case number is 01-7870, and his NCIC number is U96000233. I'd like to say thank you to Maria for researching this case. If you like this podcast, you might consider liking us on Facebook. The Facebook page is www.facebook.com/tattoos of the unidentified. We also have a Twitter page, www.twitter.com/tattoos of UID.